Hello and welcome. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Ali Schroeder and my name is Bronte Spicer. And this is our conversation 2 on what if our answer is holding both love and fear, because in the spiritual community where it's kind of drilled into us that it just has to be love, and we're kind of constantly trying to find our way around this. And both Ali and I had a beautiful conversation 2 weeks ago around our experiences of welcoming both love and fear at the same time, and the power and the freedom that we and the gold that we found from that. So welcome back, Ali, and thank you so much for coming back and sharing this sharing what you have to share on this hot topic. It's such a potent time for this, and I really honor and appreciate your time in coming back and sharing what you know about this topic.
Thank you. And I'm just looking forward to diving in, because I think this joint conversation between the two of us who have been exploring this, it just only amplifies what I'm beginning to try and understand at this time of what, literally, could this be the answers? It just feels like it could be, but I'm still trying to make sense of it all as well. But it's very visceral in my body of like a big yes. So
I'm just getting full body shivers as you share that, Ali, and I think that we're on this point where life as we knew it is just, it's completely crumbling before our eyes, and the only way through this is to come back to our center and come back to our body and come back to our heart. And when things are so dismantled or chaotic or just not making sense on the exterior, it's like, what else is left? There's nothing stable to hold on to. So it's what I'm finding in my experience is, it's like I can't hang my hat on anything. All I know is that I have a heart within me and I have a body and I'm starting to learn more how my body and my heart together combined can actually be that driving force and that compass for me to navigate my way through my own journey.
Yes, all to that. Yes. I just can't. Possibly some of this has to do with like I was kind of tuning back into trauma, like when not necessarily that this is a hugely traumatic event. Some people have had other more traumatic events happening, but this chaos is causing an anxiety and almost a traumatic response in us because of everything that's going on and the uncertainty and the lack of clarity of the vision of a world we might be moving into. And so the only thing, because when I'm in that state, I'm in fear and I'm out of my body. I can't seem to see or do anything. And it is literally the only way for me to sort of come back is to get in my body again. And I just have to simplify it all and just come back into my heart and just find that place within me again. And yes, that fear and the anxiety is still there. But I find the love again. And I think I said it last time, the only place I can start with any of this is within myself. And I can't do anything until I've found that place within myself again.
So, absolutely. Ali, and thank you for sharing what your message was from last time, and I'll just share a couple of things that I noted down when I watched the replay, and there were some absolute pearlers, might I add. One of the things that you said, well, I'll start from the top. So there was this message around love the fear and you'll find the inherent freedom and peace that you are. You spoke a lot about, Ali, about your gold is in the fear.
Yeah.
Your gold is in the fear. So this thing that we escape and we avoid and we try to break and clear and release, you know, that's the part that actually has the gold. And I, at the same time, I really want to honor your humility in making sense of this in fairly extreme circumstances, because Ellie's in Melbourne right now. You also shared accepting fear gives us our full power. Being in despair doesn't help me or anyone else. And so for those of us in both of our communities, Ellie, we are givers, we're helpers, you know, we're here to help. And that I think that kind of reiterates what you're saying around, you know, just come, if I can look after myself, then that's first and foremost, which lends right into this quote. I wrote this whole quote of yours because it just it just had such power to it. You said, what I came to see was that tending to my own fears and beliefs was the first and most vital thing that I could do. And that was on feeling powerless.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read it again.
Yeah.
What I came to see was that tending to my own fears and beliefs was the first and most vital thing that I could do. And you also shared, when we tend to our own energy first, it has an absolute knock-on effect. So that's where we're at. And then, of course, when you share and when you have these conversations, then so much more explodes from that. And I know that you had so many more realizations and deepening experiences around this idea of holding both fear and love. And that's why we've decided to come back and continue this conversation. So today we want to really focus on practical things, but also those big topics like surrender and letting go, and how is that actually possible in the time that we find ourselves in. So let's start with letting go of fear. I mean, how does that enter the conversation? Because we've talked a lot about welcoming, accepting fear, but ultimately, you know, no one likes to be in fear. We don't want to be in fear. We know what, if we're in fear, we know how that ends, and it never ends well. So what is this process around letting go of fear? What's the process that you've found that works for you?
It's an interesting one, because it's almost a letting go, but it's a welcoming in. And this is one of the things I find it really hard to articulate, because I don't want to sit in my fear, but I also don't want to ignore it. So it's a bit of a welcoming in and acknowledgement. But there's also a moment of choice of perhaps, what am I going to do about it? Or what am I going to choose to be? Because this moment I'm never going to get back again. I'm never going to get this moment back again. This moment that I'm in right now, I have a choice to how I want to feel and be. So I'm not ignoring and squashing it away, and I'm not wanting to do that. Do we call it spiritual bypassing, when we just go, let's just feel the love and move? You know, I want to actually really embrace that fear. And I feel like that's the surrender. It's like, yes, you're here. And there's something beautiful. It's telling me, it's giving me information. But I also get to choose what I do with that information, if that makes sense. So I kind of, if I am feeling the overwhelm and the anxiety, I do get to have a moment of like, yes, there's so much going on, and in this moment, and I don't know what to do, and I can't solve all the problems. And that scares me, because I don't have any clarity with what is going to happen in the future. But I do know that right in this moment, I can come back to me and make a choice that I can feel safe and secure right in this moment. Because right in this very moment, my safety and security is here. you know, and if I can feel that, then my whole family can feel that. And then there's that beautiful power of holding that. I still have that fear and anxiety, but I also have a certainty that right in this moment, I can choose to feel safe and secure. So yeah, it's the dance again. I don't know, but that there's the surrender. It's there, but I'm not going to run away from it. I'm just going to embrace it. And perhaps in that moment of feeling safe and secure, and I'm feeling a bit more in my power, I might find a piece of gold, something I can do, maybe some action I can take. But yeah, it's like, I don't know if we have to completely like think we've got to clear this fear. It's kind of like there's something in it there that I'm wanting to see, and it's always coming back to these opposites, isn't it? I think yeah, like I feel like you get that idea that there's this opposite always there, the fear and the love, you know, or the anxiety, or the clarity, or the security, that safety. I feel like there's always these opposites that we can play with, and if we can say, well, this is how I feel in this moment, what's the opposite? Can I choose to feel that? So that's what I've been deeply exploring, and letting myself feel all of those feelings. Like yesterday, getting the information that the state of emergency has been extended for 6 months. And I went into a moment of despair and just like, what is happening? But I was able to also be with that feeling all day, but also just having this knowing of a deep love for myself, of just knowing that I'll be okay. You know, I'll be okay. And I can, and we will be okay. So that's where, you know, it's very real at the moment.
It's so real, and I love it that it's so real, because like, let's just talk about what it's actually like in real life, you know, like we can have all these spiritual concepts, but it's like if we can't apply it to our everyday, and I guess that's why it's called the Great Awakening, because it's like this is all coming to the surface, so we can actually walk our talk and be able to apply, you know, these concepts into reality, into what's facing us right here, right now. I love how you spoke about the dance. I mean, we can try, and the mind just loves to pinpoint it and be like, right, this is how life is, and no, this is how life is, and this is how life is. But that's, you know, that's one side, right? That's that finite, that's the left brain, the masculine, like I'm holding on to something. And then there's this surrender and letting go, and this complete dance of letting it all just, you know, swirl around. So it's, I so agree with you. And I think the only thing that's constant is that there is the duality, that there is the light and the dark, that there is the fear and the love, that there is right and wrong, and then everything that encompasses that is life. And in my experience, what you know, for me personally right now, I'm in this process of just letting things, like as in things are dying in my life, you know, like things are ending, and perfect for where we're at in the seasons, but and there's this resistance to letting things go. And I agree with you that the only way to fully come to that place of freedom is to actually go to the body and feel the feelings. And it's like, Bronte, just get on your meditation pillow and just feel how it feels to be sad about this thing ending. Yeah. Yes. But I also heard real power in what you were saying, in that we have a choice. So I agree with you that going to the fear, welcoming the fear, that doesn't mean that we're sitting in absolute terror. It actually means the opposite. It means that we are, there's a gap. If we can create space where we are the watcher, we are watching with the sensations in the body, then that creates the freedom. It's like going to the fear, welcoming the fear, it doesn't mean that we're traumatizing, we're terrorizing ourselves in fear. It's a very skillful practice. And I wonder if this does kind of ease us into yoga nidra, because you've spoken about holding opposites, and I'm pretty sure it's in the body, right? Can you share more about yoga nidra and how that kind of informed your kind of insights and awakenings around this idea of holding both fear and love simultaneously, and what that brings you?
Yeah. So I started my yoga nidra journey, it was actually this time last year, because I'm seeing my Facebook memories pop up. And it was the daring to rest model of yoga nidra, because there is actually a few different models of it. And that's Karen Brody is the woman who sort of has created that model of yoga nidra. And she sort of takes you through the 5 different koshas of the body, and I can't remember what they all are. But what it sort of does for you when you're going into yoga nidra, and for those of you that don't know, it's like a deep restful yoga. It's like a meditation, but it's so much more. It gets you to sort of still your body by clocking through all of these different points in your body and relaxing. But you can you're getting into your body, but you're deeply relaxed, and you're getting into that deep state. And there's different stages of this journey, which the only way I can articulate it, because again, I'm not like a yoga nidra teacher, so I don't know all the the aspects of it, is that it gets all the outside noises away from me, and it brings me right deep in communion with my soul, into that heart space. And it's like, so they talk about getting a soul whisper at the end, a whisper from your soul. And it is, in that moment, whatever you need to hear. And sometimes it's nothing. And what they say is, but you write that down, because the opposite of that is something. So there is always something that your soul is giving you. And that's where I started to really deepen into the gold that's within us. Because if there was something going on within me, this soul whisper in the yoga nidra was giving me a piece of gold, a piece of information for me. And also within the yoga nidra practice, it's in one of the phases, because there's a rest, release and rise phase. So we do a period of rest, and then there's a period of releasing, and then there's the rise, and that makes quite a lot of sense. But in one of the phases, there's a section in the nidra where you learn to hold opposites. Can you feel the hot? Can you feel the cold? Now can you feel both? So there's a beautiful amount of practice of learning to do that with the several different things. And it's in your body, and you can feel, oh yeah, I can feel cold, and I can feel hot. Oh yeah, and I can feel both. And what does that feel like? And starting to practice, like a little, like art of practice of, can both of those be within me? And so as I was exploring this, that's why I posted that post, why you got in contact. And we started this conversation, because I was like, it is both. Because I know I can hold both of everything else. So yes. So that's sort of my connection, yoga nidra is incredible. But yeah, learning that art of opposites within that was, like just another skill, beyond just, hearing those soul whispers. But yeah. Yeah,
And that's a really practical approach. I love that, because often we can have these ideas of, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then, you know, often as intuitives or coaches or mentors, we'll have all of these amazing ideas to give our clients. But when, well, you know, when it comes around to ourselves, we're like, oh yeah, we kind of like palm it off, and we don't actually do the practical aspect. But it's in the practical aspect in the process that our experience deepens. So I love that it is that it's a practical thing that we can actually do. So everyone can Google yoga nidra, or reach out to your yoga teachers and say, you know, show me how to do yoga nidra. So I guess I just want to highlight, you know, I want to come to the point where you did hold hold opposites. What did that bring you to hold the opposites?
It's peace. It's funny. It's like it's complete peace, because it's like I'm not perhaps feeling an intense one or the other. It's that, or the balance even, isn't it? There's this like, it kind of, I think I even was trying to explain it last week, like you could imagine that fear feels really heavy and love is light. But when I was starting to hold the opposites, I was like, hang on, I actually feel the same. And I think I was saying they both feel like they've got the gold in them. So that, you know, that idea that when you can start to feel that they're not, one doesn't hold more weight than the other, one isn't more extreme than the other, that it's kind of like it does have a release and a like, oh, a peaceful, like, yeah, okay. And it doesn't feel so big or scary anymore when you're looking at them both and going, I have both of these within me, and I can feel a balance. I can feel, yeah, that there's a unison even of holding them both. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is that it feels safe to feel the fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting how it's the same topic, but I love how we see it differently too. Like you see gold in the fear. I also love how you shared that the energy of let's just say love and fear, that we can have a preconceived idea of what that energy is, but then when we actually come to it, they're the same. It's just all energy.
Yeah.
And for me personally, what I would call or would have called pain that I ran away from for so long, every single time I feel pain in my body, it morphs into beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
So it's not like we're not bringing this conversation to you all to terrorize you and for you to sit in pain or fear. What this, you know, what our experiences and what we're opening the door for you possibly to experience is this freedom in and peace in accepting life as it is.
Yeah.
Letting go of what the mind thinks life needs to be like, and actually accepting, allowing ourselves to be fully at one with how life is right now. Because it's like we actually can't control it. So you're resisting the inevitable. You're resisting what's already happening. It's you know, like, so this struggle to stop what is already here, that's completely draining you of life force energy. And so when you surrender, that's when you get to experience the full totality of what life is, which includes both duality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's the surrender of the struggle, isn't it? It's like you're struggling and resisting feeling or being in the pain or whatever is happening. And yeah, that's that point of surrender that frees us. That frees us from the tension and the pain, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, Ali, you've shared about this idea of reaching the brink of surrender. I think we all know what that's like. It's like we get pushed right, or we push ourselves, or we just, life pushes us to the absolute cliff face, and we're like we try and hold on. What is that like for you to be at the brink? And then what's the free fall like? How does that kind of relay back into everyday life, especially in what you're experiencing right now in Melbourne?
Yeah. I'm going to start with a visual that keeps coming through to me, which helped me understand surrender. And it was a mentor who was talking to me because I was really trying to understand this surrender business. And she's like, you can get to the brink. And so she said, imagine you're in a swimming pool. And somebody can push you into the deep end because you've just resisted and resisted and resisted, and then you're in there and you've been pushed into it. Or you could be hanging on to the side, resisting and struggling, or you could just let go. And she said, it's a let go. When you let go and you're supported by the water. You are actually supported. But if somebody pushes you in, you're like flailing and in the deep end and wasn't expecting it. And it's, so this is beautiful idea. She really helped me understand that there's a little moment of courageousness of going, I don't need to hold on anymore. It's going to be okay. I can let go into this. And I loved it because for me, viscerally feeling, like imagining myself at the edge of the water and falling back and allowing that beautiful, it's kind of interesting. I feel it as a bit of a feminine masculine container, this idea, this body of water. And the masculine is the boundary that's holding the water in, and the water is the feminine. And I was like, when I surrender into it, I am deeply supported. I'm in there. And I've also made the choice to do it as well, which I feel is different to when you've resisted it the whole time and then you're pushed in. So I love that. And then I guess when I get to a situation like we are in, and like yesterday getting that news, and I don't know what any of that means except that somebody has this control again that I really didn't want them to have. And so again, I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because at the moment in Melbourne, there's been talks about protests, but people are getting arrested for organising it, and a lot is happening, and it's a lot of like, I don't have a voice. I don't feel like nobody's listening to me. All of these big things. So yesterday I was like, oh my God, like what is happening here? What am I going to do? What can I do? What can I do? And again, by the end of the day, I came back to get on your mat, come back to you. And I started to again receive these messages about, for me, and I don't know if this applies to everybody, but for me, I keep getting this message to share my experience, to share my way of moving through this is the medicine that I can best deliver in this time. And that for me is being able to express all of these feelings, but also finding a compassionate pathway back to love. And I just, I think, there's a wound perhaps that a lot of us had. I received an actual wound here, and that's what set me off on this trajectory of a pathway of trying to understand how to bring back a compassionate love to myself, but also to help others. And within all of that is it comes back to this holding the fear and the love. Always it's always coming back to that for me. And I get multiple messages. I keep getting a lot of guidance over the last few years from like Mary Magdalene, the Jesus, like the whole lineage and the story. His suffering, being able to transcend it and always being in that compassionate, loving space. That for me, that energy just keeps coming through to me more and more. And so I feel like that's really such a big part of helping other people heal a deep wound, is showing them how it's possible. And also just showing that it is okay to be in that suffering and that pain, as you talk about. But we can find a space for love, and they both exist at the same time. Yeah.
And I think in the holding, that is that compassion, in the coming to the pain and the suffering, that's the first step to self-compassion.
Yeah.
When we are in that state of fear, that was me maybe 2 weeks ago. I was on the brink. I guess we just go through cycles, as it comes up. And so when we're in that point, that self-compassion is non-existent when we're in that state of fear. It's just not there. So I think what we've been kind of sharing over these 2 conversations is that the first step is to love the fear, and then that welcomes, that softens it. It opens the space for that transcendence or transmutation, that transformation to occur. It's because I guess the resistance to get rid of the pain, suffering, fear is the opposite to self-compassion. So when it is, it's just like the answer is actually love. It's just when we love the fear. And I guess what I experienced was that when I brought love to myself, then I was able to love the politicians. I was able to love the lower vibrational energies. I was able to love the systems. And there was this softening that occurred for me where I could just love all parts as they are, with the awareness that they have. And boy, did that give me some like solace. And it's I use the word all the time, but I just have no other words for this immense freedom that happens when we let go. And the more that we push back and the more that we're just creating further suffering for ourselves. But I also do love how you have shared around this idea of expressing too. And this is where the dance comes back in too. So it's not like we're like morphing into this, love for everyone. We also have a fire, and a lot of us are, we're gatekeepers for the feminine. So, we're rising with the feminine through the earth, through the earth mother. So I think expressing and is very much a part of this. And then I also think that when it becomes a point of I'm right, you're wrong, then we've entered into the locked, all I'm seeing is like gridlock in the mind, in the collective mind. So then, the answer that the kind of guidance I'm getting is just come down to the body. It's like come out of the mind, come down to the body, come down to the earth and be with her.
Yeah. And it's funny, you talk about finding a peace and a love for the systems and the government, because last night I was feeling into it, going, I feel the really strong, powerful activism that's going on, why certain Facebook groups are getting shut down and why certain people are being arrested, is because of their energy, of perhaps, and they are gridlocking against these people. And so they're pushing each other down. It's like, and I was like, so how can we still share our voice and what is important to us and make a stand, but in a different energy space that, like I still don't really know the answer, but I could see clearly the reason why certain things were getting shut down, because it was almost like the energy was there wasn't room for both. I don't know, it was interesting. So maybe again is the answer there in the opposite of meeting that strongness of some of this control with the different softness, or like I still just trying to figure out like what is my part to play here? How can I be a really strong voice and make change, but in a different way, in a loving or a peaceful way that still is really strong and powerful? And that's like I still really deeply feeling into it, and I feel like it's the answer. And maybe my mind questions it's not enough, but I could see last night why possibly things were happening the way they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
It's big. And, just this, like, all I'm hearing is speak when the energy is there, and then let it go. Speak, let it go. Speak. And there is this sense of falling away of time. I'm not sure if you've noticed. I mean, we've all noticed the kind of time warping that's happened, especially this year in lockdown. Like it expands, and then it's like, goes really quick. This kind of sense of, I'm sure it's probably, to do with the fact that we're in a very strange environment, but also energetically. So again, I feel like we're just coming to be more in the moment, and when it's there, we speak the words for what's there, and then we let it go. I think the surrender and the letting go that's really been a key part to letting go of the mind, just letting go of the reality that the mind just really loves to hold on to, because it's terrified. It's like it needs certainty and assuredness in a time that it's just really uncertain.
Yeah. Absolutely. The expressing thing, I think, helps. When something is bubbling up within you and you express it. And that's the beauty of, I find, Facebook or other social channels, is I get in a moment to express something and then it's gone. And sometimes I don't even go back and check on the post. Like, it's funny, I'm like, it's just done now, I've expressed it, it's out there. I didn't, that's all I needed to do in that moment. And then I feel like I've been heard.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just meeting those very basic needs as individual needs, and that very need that women have not had, and it's been suppressed. So it makes so much sense that we are learning how to use our voice, and we're just expressing. I see it that this is a part of life, to use the physicality. I think we spoke about that in the last call, just around this very physicality of life. That's where the gold is. This idea of escaping life and wanting to be in the stars and being where just where all love and light is, but it's in the physicality, it's in the sound, it's in the voice, it's in our body that brings this very gift that life has us experience on this earth.
I actually heard something last night from Richard Rudd, who does the Gene Keys modality, and he was talking about suffering being our pathway to grace. So suffering being the pathway to grace, to meeting our divine self, or to meeting the Holy Spirit, the divine feminine. And I was like, oh, that's, yes, okay, and it was something I could really feel into. And so again, it was just this at the both ends, sort of that it needs to exist. It's part of life. And so our resistance to it is what's causing, yeah, so much pain. And it's the, yeah, so again, the surrender into the suffering of life,
Yeah.
That leads us to this beautiful grace or this beautiful divine feeling in ourselves. Or yeah, but it's always going to be there. I don't feel like it's never not going to be there.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ali. It's
Mm.
yeah, it's been such a pleasure to yeah, just explore more and experience what, yeah, just to hear what you've been experiencing, how to apply these really kind of big concepts of surrender, and how we can apply that in a time like now. And I guess from this conversation, I've just come to this point of realization that nothing is wrong right now. Like,
Yeah.
is right. This is completely divine, and this is
Yeah.
perfect for our spiritual growth and awakening.
Yes.
It's just, yeah, it's almost, it's an absolute gift.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Ali, for sharing your time again. And for everyone who's watching, please, share your comments, and we'd love to know how you feel about this idea. We know the resistance, we both are still feeling the resistance, every day. But the more that we are kind of taking the plunge to go towards what we're fearing and love that, surrender into both holding both fear and love and that duality, yeah, it's peace, freedom, grace on the other side of that. And yeah, so thank you all for joining us, and we'll put Ali's Facebook page on in the comments as well if you'd like to continue journeying with her. And also, if you'd like to delve deeper into surrender, then join Beyond Belief, which is my new course starting on the 22nd of September.
Mm.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Beautiful.
Ali.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.